It's a cold Kentucky Christmas and everybody's getting cold. Whether it's hitting your stocking or across the Highline pole, there ain't no global warming, at least not that we know. It's a cold Kentucky Christmas, everybody's getting cold. Keep that black smoke rolling, burning.
All right, back again in the beautiful month of December. If you are listening, that was Josh Teague with Cold Kentucky Christmas, the song you heard in the beginning of the show, and we'll hear at the end. If you have a song that you want featured on an episode of Appodlachia, hit us up. info@appodlachia.com. Shoot it there. Send us the actual files. Don't send a link to your Spotify, because there's not a whole lot we can do with that. So with that being said, though, John, we got to get started. And I'm just going to say, I am, what's that like 16th, 14th, 12th century like scholar that could predict the future? Nostradamus, I think is something like that. I Nostradamus things last week when I I kind of did. I alluded to the war on Christmas ceasefire being over, and I think that we had an official end to it this past week.
Yeah, this happens every year, but this year,
not every year.
Okay, a lot of years there's somebody claiming that something's being taken away from Christmas.
Yeah, typically it's when a Democrat's in office in the presidency, but sometimes when a Republican.
That's true. Like, the big push. I just saw, actually driving back today, I read leave the Christ in Christmas, like somebody was trying to just call it muss. So
Are they sure they just weren't overhearing a Spanish family asking for more of something?
Yeah, Moss? They're like, yeah, Moss presents. That's what I always say.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Like, yeah. So I'll give it to you. I think you did predict it a little bit, because things got heated.
Things did. Well, and what I did not predict, what I definitely did not expect, is that Dr. Anthony Fauci would be the one to fire the first shot.
For Christmas.
That's right. That son of a bitch, that epidemiologist Grinch. Well, so this is what happened. I'm referring to a tweet from the Twitter machine from esteemed congressman from the 4th District of Ohio, and guy who definitely, absolutely did not cover up sexual misconduct allegations at Ohio State when he was a wrestling coach. There are credible accusations, though, and I should state that there, because we could get sued for saying something like that. But anyway, yet again, he's tweeting some bullshit. So this is what he said, John. He said, quote, Dr. Fauci says Americans should avoid travel over the holidays. What will he cancel next? Saying Merry Christmas? And I think the answer to that is yes. I think we've got the evidence. It's right here in front of us.
Well,
war is back on.
Without Jim, we would never have seen this war coming.
No. He is the Paul Revere of the United States House of Representatives, getting on his high horse many times, in fact, and telling the people what it is. And this is like really the highest priority for me personally, as you know, big Christmas guy here, less worried about the coronavirus that's killed 280,000 Americans. It's that I'm worried that I can't say Merry Christmas. I'm worried that I can't tweet it. So I did get on my Parlay account and tweet out Merry Christmas just in case.
Yeah, which is smart of you. I'm glad that you're letting everybody know where you stand on these things. Look.
We keep it 100 on this show.
Look, the doctor told me I should avoid traveling, right? To me,
you're talking about your doctor or Dr. Fauci?
No, Dr. Fauci. I call him the doctor now, because he's the doctor. Whether or not you want him or not, he's your doctor. And he's telling me I should avoid travel. Should I avoid it? That's the question.
Listen, I'll tell you what, is I went to Target today, so I'm not avoiding travel. Oof, take that, Fauci.
That's true. That is true. I did go to Target over the weekend too. Shit. All right. Well, I didn't avoid travel either.
Well, I think it's well, and this is again, I think maybe you were doing this subconsciously, but you were rebelling against the war on Christmas because, and this is, it reminds me this time of year of the American Revolution when those brave colonists rebelled against British rule with an iron fist. We're rebelling against the oppressive people that are trying to keep us safe in this country. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
I'm sure Jim Jordan was wrestling with this tweet for a while.
Oh,
got him. Look, I'm going to avoid traveling like I avoid the Ohio State wrestling team. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be away from traveling and Jim Jordan.
I think that's smart. That's smart. It's very smart because he seems like he himself is a super spreader of coronavirus, and I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
He is an asshole.
But always welcome on the show.
Always welcome on the show. Though, John, perfect transition. You know who aren't assholes?
Who?
Is our new Patreon patron members. Got a few this week, John. Let the people know who they are.
Look, we vetted them. Not assholes. Great people. Assholes. Smart people. Probably the most intelligent people around. I think there's 56 really intelligent people right now. But so the newest to the, I guess you call them the starting five this week. It is Carly, Justin, Hannah, Andrea, and our boy Tom. Those are big names, Chuck. And we got them. They're supporting us.
It's darn right. And not assholes. That's Tom with no H.
That's true.
A lot of Toms out there spelled different ways. Yeah. We appreciate all those new Patreon patrons and the ones that we have had in the past that have been with us for a while now. Really appreciate it. Again, John and I are shocked every time that a new one comes in because we're surprised that people want to part with their hard-earned money to support us, but we are thankful and grateful for it and hope that we give a good show. And one of the shows, speaking of shows that we're doing, and we need to give a few announcements here, is that we are doing an award show. John, I think we've explained this a couple times on the show, but voting is now open for the finalists, final nominees for a bunch of different categories. You want to kind of talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, so obviously we did the breakdown. Some got to top 4, some got to top 5 or 6 because they were just too close to call. Chuck and I had to make the decision. We believe more choices are the best choices. So that's what we did. Crazy numbers here, Chuck. Crazy numbers. We have over 1,500 votes.
Yep, and only 1,200 of them are bots.
Right, and the other 300 are not my mom. So we
definitely
have
not John's mom.
100 votes. She just voted.
One of the emails was definitely not bigjohnsmom@gmail.com. So
my mom figured out how to do a write-in. It's just her trying. She's pulling out her flip phone, trying to text Big John to every awards category.
Big John Appalachian of the Year. He's really making a comeback. Wow.
Yeah. Leading, it's crazy. But anyway, the awards show is, look, the voting's gonna end on December 23rd. We're gonna know who the winners are on December 27th. That's when we're gonna host the awards show, Chuck. We are gonna be opening envelopes. We're gonna be giving out awards. We are going to be award show hosts.
Yep. We don't know yet what those awards
are.
Oh,
absolutely not. Nope.
No, definitely not. But I will assure you that there will be awards. And
you'll get some.
Our best to get them to you if you won. And hold us to that. But yes, there will be. And we're not joking. There actually will be awards. We're just still trying to figure out what those are going to be. One thing that I should have mentioned actually at the beginning of these announcements when we were talking about our Patreon patron members is the exclusive segment for this week. And if you're listening to this and you're not a member of our Patreon yet, if you subscribe for as little, as minuscule as $1 a month, $1, 1 dinero, 100 pennies, 1 smackaroo, as the kids would say, you can get access to exclusive segments, which we do every week. This week, we are reading our cringeworthy tweets and Facebook posts from the past. This is kind of in line with the theme this week. We're doing a little bit of a easygoing, carefree programming this week. We're not getting into a lot of heavy topics. for the main programming. And so we're going to keep that the same with the exclusive. And these are some real good ones. I mean, we're talking about, I've had a Facebook since 2008. So there's some shit on there that is real cringeworthy, real bad, and on Twitter as well. So, and I know John's got some real zingers. He's read some to me.
This might be the first Patreon exclusive that I'm not looking forward to. Yeah, so look.
That's how you tease it out right there.
Our pain is their pleasure because they give us at least $1 a month. And to us, that means the world, so they get what they want.
That which nobody asked for, but we're still going to get.
Literally, no one requested this, but they're going to want it. It's like
they didn't know that they wanted it.
It's like when you go to a restaurant, but you don't know what you want. You tell the person, like, you pick for me, and then it's exactly what you should have ordered because it's so damn good. That's what this hopefully will be.
This is exactly like that. And much like that, we're the waiters who are receiving your tips. Powerful metaphor. Anyway, speaking of powerful metaphors, we've got our next segment, Data-lachia. We've done this before. I usually start this out by saying that numbers are very important and they tell a unique story, and that is the same for Appodlachia. There's a lot of unique numbers that can uncover stories about this region. And normally I say a number, John tries to guess it, and I used to say that he always gets it wrong, and then we discuss, but God damn it, last week you got it right. So I'll say John normally gets it wrong, but he's turning the tide around. John, the number this week is $800 million.
The rest of the money from the CARES Act that West Virginia has left.
Ding, ding, ding. You're on a roll this week. You're on a roll. Yeah, this is a hard number to avoid in the state of West Virginia. I've seen a lot of people tweet about it too, but it's also just making headlines. So for those of you who don't know, the CARES Act was the large stimulus package that was passed by Congress. I want to say it was in April of this year. It was right after the pandemic was really like hot and heavy. And so a lot of states got money from that to spend on, things like helping people. Well, it turns out that, and John is quite familiar with this, that old Jim Justice, big old Jim Bob Evans Justice, the governor of the great state of West Virginia, much like he sits on the mountains of taxes that he owes the federal government, he is sitting on $800 million worth of free money from the federal government that he could be spending on the people of West Virginia. John, why is he doing this? That's
a great question. When he was starting to hold money for a really long time, and people like Phil Keebler, right?
I think it's like Cabler. He's definitely not like an elf. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you're right. Well, when Phil, it's Phil Cabler. Anyway, reports were coming out that Jim Justice wasn't spending this money, and I thought, and I think you and I both talked about it, we thought it was a political ploy to put it towards the election and then him to start to spend more money to make sure that he was going to be successful, which obviously he was, but he didn't spend any money. So there's $800 million just sitting there. The only thing I can assume is that he's trying to sponsor this show, because I don't know why else he'd be holding on to that money.
I think that makes sense. Look, and what I will say is, Jim, we don't need $800 million for Appodlachia. We'll settle for $1 million.
Or $790.
Okay, well, $790. Yeah. No, I think this is ridiculous though, because
it's stupid.
Look, you don't just sit on money and not do anything with it from the federal government. There is like very little downside to that, and there's no question that the people of West Virginia are suffering greatly right now. So to me, it's just so absurd. And what the story that this tells is a story of bureaucratic incompetence and poor leadership. Jim Justice is not familiar with government and how it works. You don't have to be in order to spend money. And this is just incompetence, and it's poor leadership.
They need someone like me running that, Chuck. Here's why.
I keep telling them that.
I get money, I spend it. That's all I know how to do. I don't know how to hold on to that. I can't do that. I gotta make choices. I gotta make decisions, and I've got to make moves. So I do it financially. Terrible moves most of the time, but sometimes, pretty good. Jim Justice, supposedly this big time businessman, the only thing he does know how to do is not spend money. Usually he's not spending money on paying his own taxes, but this time he's not even spending West Virginia's money. So it's insane. The only thing that I can really, putting jokes aside, the only thing I can really think of is that he has put incompetent people in certain areas who don't know exactly what they should be doing at this time. And without real leadership, no one's able to go and ask somebody because they're in a position that they shouldn't be in, which is obviously fault of their own, but also fault of whoever put them in that position.
Yeah, it's troubling too, because I mean, this is one very simple thing. It's not like very simple. I don't want to oversimplify spending money, because you have to actually figure out where to put it. That's the difficult part, and what to do with it. But making the decision to spend it is not difficult. So it does make you wonder, what are some of the other things underneath those covers in his government that are not happening because of that incompetence, that are much more complicated than this.
Yeah, and let's not forget, like, there's going to be major changes in West Virginia's government coming into 2021. So if we're already struggling now, I can't imagine how bad it's going to be in 2021, because you're seeing a lot of new faces come into the legislature. You're seeing Riley Moore come in and be in a position that he has no job being in. That's going to be a shit show. It's going to be one of those things that Jim Justice needs to get a handle on this. I don't think he's going to, but I mean, he still has what, 23-ish days to do it. That
would be a hell of a Christmas spending spree. I'll tell you that much. And
I don't think he's going to spend all of it, but I think he will spend some of it.
Well, I hope so. I mean, like, I mean, he's not much of a showman, but if he wants to do it, I mean, the thing is like, you're sitting on his money. This is not complicated. I'm a broken fucking record right now, but it does not take a lot to walk outside your little ivory tower in the Greenbrier Resort and find out that people around you are suffering, that small businesses around you are suffering, that healthcare workers around you are suffering. And you can't fix all of it with $800 million, but you can sure as shit fix some of it.
That's why we need to start electing people who are like us. I mean, that not like us, you and I, but like us in terms in
ass-tard Marxist cucks.
If you're not watching this on YouTube, Chuck is pointing to a letterboard behind him with one of our favorite reviews from one of our fans on YouTube. If you want to see it, you can go to our YouTube channel and check this episode out. You'll be able to see what he's talking about. But I'm talking more of people like us, in terms of people who think like us because they have the same financial situation and stuff like that. Jim Justice isn't
just people that aren't billionaires,
right? Jim Justice isn't poor. He doesn't care about where this money goes because he doesn't understand that people are struggling, because he doesn't struggle. That's the key of being a billionaire. So I mean, unfortunately, and he's only gonna, I'm assuming, put a lot more of his friends into these offices, which is unfortunate for West Virginians, because they'll not know what it's like to struggle either, and they'll not be able to do the job correctly. I think more actual West Virginians, everyday West Virginians, need to be in government. I've said that for years and years and years. Unfortunately, it's all over the country. More ordinary people need to be in the government, but we continue to make mistakes and elect people like billionaires, millionaires, and other people who are out of touch.
Well, not to get on the soapbox again with the history lesson, but I mean, that's the entire concept of representative government and representative democracy in the legislature. Is it's not supposed to be your full-time job, which for the majority of people, in fairness, in state legislatures is not, because it pays like 20 grand a year. But a lot of them are also independently wealthy and can fuck around, do whatever they want. I agree. I think we need people that are actually struggling, or that would be legitimate beneficiaries of this money, in office. And I think there were some that were elected this time around, but we need more.
Yeah, not enough. We do not have enough. Across Appalachia, we don't have enough.
Truth. Well, we'll put a button on that, and that'll be the end of our pseudo-political coverage for this episode. Yep. That was our serious stuff. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this episode something related to Mothman Revisited. If you've been with us a while, you know that we did a bonus episode back. God, it was probably April or May. It was during the hot and heavy COVID times.
Yeah.
We did a fun bonus episode on the Mothman, just, for the hell of it, give our listeners something to chew on. It was a good time. It was a hit. And we left a lot more of that story to be told. And we're going to come back into it and just talk a little bit more about it, talk about the men in black, those associated with Mothman, some of the theories behind it, some of the recent sightings, quote unquote, of Mothman, which are as recent as October 2020. And just get into it with that. Cause John and I were talking about this. We really, we've gotten through a lot of heavy topics, election, COVID, yada, yada. It's been a tough year, and we know that a lot of you are not going to be able to see your family or all of your family for Christmas. And what little we can do to make that better, we're going to try, and hopefully we'll be successful. And so one of the things we're trying to do is have some entertaining programming that is not super serious or super, intense, like heavy topics. If you need a break from something, or if you're just looking to be entertained, hopefully we can do it, and hopefully we can accomplish it with this episode. John, anything to add?
I'm ready to get into it. Mothman.
All right. So where I think last left off, we talked about the basics of the story, the Mothman, the sightings that people had said they witnessed in Point Pleasant, but we didn't really get into the nitty gritty, John. And one of the interesting parts about this whole story is that it kind of, not completely, but kind of is the origin of the Men in Black. Now, you're familiar with the Men in Black, right?
Here come the Men in Black.
Very close, yes. Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. That's right.
Yeah, I know him.
Something it fucked up these bullets here. What the hell happened? I had this all bulleted out. I don't know what in the world happened here. I'm getting lost on the page. Sorry.
It's all right.
Hold on. Okay, well, look, we're not talking about Will Smith and little pins with lasers and flashing lights that erase your memory. So what most people don't know about this, John, is that the Men in Black are a big part of the Mothman story. And in fact, cryptologist or cryptozoologist, I don't know if I'm getting the word right. Either way, John Keel, who wrote the book The Mothman Prophecies, actually is known for popularizing the term Men in Black in his investigation of the Mothman. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the Men in Black. We'll talk about it. Some were reported as having dark features, an Eastern European look, so to speak. Could they have been Russians? We don't know. Expressionless faces and strange eyes, sometimes covered by dark sunglasses. Their movements often appeared to be inhuman in nature. Don't know what that means. They usually traveled in groups of 2 or 3 and had a knack for knowing things about the witnesses of the Mothman that they taunted. And that's an important aspect of this, is that they would follow or find or stalk the witnesses who came out publicly and said that they saw the Mothman, and try to convince them that they didn't see anything. They need to recant their story. They need to shut the fuck up, that type of thing. So they had a knack of finding these people and taunting them. And there were even reports of them being masters of illusion by way of being able to make themselves appear and disappear without a trace, Big John. Some have even reported carrying sophisticated gadgets. And one woman claimed that the Men in Black erased part of her memory, which is where probably the premise of the movies comes from.
Now I'm a little disappointed that they don't mention Mothman in the movies. I think they should have.
I'm actually, now that you mention it, I'm fairly pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? This isn't about aliens, it's about Mothman.
It is, and you had an opportunity in how many movies they do? They did like 4. There's at least 3 minimum.
I remember 3 because they took Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones out.
Yeah, and I remember there's at least two because the second one had the whole Burger King toys.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. I got chicken fries with it. It's not important, but maybe it is important. I don't know. Maybe somebody's going to find some real inspiration from that. I don't know.
Their chicken fries are great. Their chicken nuggets are terrible.
And it doesn't make any sense to me why you can't figure out one, not the other.
How do you not know? How do you
Maybe
know?
they're under mind control by the Men in Black. Maybe this is the whole fucking thing. It's all revolving around a Burger King.
We just solved the case.
Yeah, shit, right?
Well,
you're welcome, John
over.
Keel.
Thanks for tuning in.
Call us on Mythbusters and American haunted shit all the time. We'll come on there.
That's my new show. Hi, I'm John Eisner. I'll be hosting American haunted shit on Discovery Channel.
There was, hold on. Now, this is a little bit of a sidebar, but there was a show. It was on one of those like cable channels that you had to like pay the extra package to get. It was like Discover America or some Destination America.
Destination America.
And it was like, I don't know what it was, but it was following like stories about cryptids and stuff like that. I watched one episode about it was called The Lizard Demon of Wood County. And I'll tell you this, I lived in Wood County for 22 years of my life, and I ain't never heard shit about no lizard demon.
Well, that's like, there was a show on Discovery, I think, that was about Shepherdstown. That was pretty weird. It was an entire show dedicated to Shepherdstown. Not one episode, like an entire show.
Dedicated to a town of 900 people.
Yeah, about the ghost.
Smart investment.
The ghost of Shepherdstown, which Shepherdstown is known to be like this haunted area, but I never knew it was like that type of place. Like people were, paranormal activity experts supposedly really like it. But anyway, random stuff on these shows. I'm ready to be a host. I'm already an award show host, so you might as well just book me on the show. You can be my co-host. I'll allow it.
I don't know if you're talking to me or the listeners, but I will, I guess, take that.
I mean, you just infer however you want to take that.
Well, fair enough. I would dial back, though, to the lizard demon and just say that episode was very inconclusive. And it really was just a bunch of bubbies drinking Bud Light and wandering around like a pond with flashlights saying that they saw shit that I don't actually think they saw. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And my luck, there'll be a fucking listener listening to this who knows about the lizard demon and is going to be very offended by this. So I'm just going to preemptively say, I'm sorry.
It's funny that you mentioned that. So there was a network that came to Parkersburg, Minter Wells, probably 4 or 5 years ago. It may have been on the same subject. I'm not sure, but it was on a subject where they needed extras to come out and essentially play the people who were like seeing all and doing all the interviews. And those people that did all that ended up coming to the same bar that I was at. So for like an hour, I got to hear about how these shows pay people $50 to sit down in front of a camera and talk about something they have no idea what the fuck it is. It's insane. It's my favorite thing.
That's my ideal employment.
Yeah, I would take $50 every time to talk about things I don't know because I do it on the podcast every episode.
Every day. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again to our Patreon members who essentially are acting like producers in that respect. Anyway, we were talking about Men in Black. Where were we on that? I just totally derailed us. Lizard demons.
I think you were talking about where they were able to get rid of people's memory.
Right, and you were upset about Mothman not being in the movies, and what I was going to say is there were 3 movies, and so they have all these aliens, and there was perfect opportunities to put Mothman in there in some form or fashion, and they failed, and I'm honestly pissed off about it. And, butterfly effect, could that have helped West Virginia?
That's I legitimately two things. One, when you asked that question, I immediately thought, what the fuck does Ashton Kutcher have to do with West Virginia?
Ashton Kutcher, by the way, the lead in the Butterfly Effect.
That's why I was like, yeah, I guess it could have helped.
I mean, it couldn't have hurt to throw an Ashton Kutcher into a bar in Morgantown at some point, I guess.
Right.
Even if you just punked somebody.
The second thing I was thinking about was we live, well, you don't live here anymore, but you're from West Virginia, and I live in a state that we have to debate whether or not these fictional movies can help.
We just got done talking about how the dumbass governor is sitting on $800 million worth of free money from the federal government. So it's a legitimate question if Mothman and Men in Black 2 could have helped.
Trust me, I get it. We did an entire series on why a book and a movie shit on the region. I get it, but it's just funny that this entire episode, this entire fucking episode has been us saying all of these things about West Virginia and it being saved by a fucking movie that doesn't exist.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, the movie exists, but
the plot.
Fair enough. Your point is well taken, and I think the natural bridge from this is that the Men in Black franchise needs to be reopened and should mirror what happened in Point Pleasant and have Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith reprise those roles.
Yeah, I'm also willing to be in the movie. If there's a director out there listening, we are willing. If you can't get Will and you can't get Tommy, I mean, next best thing.
Right, and please cast the Iron Sheik to play Mothman.
Or Ashton Kutcher.
Or Ashton Kutcher, you know. Bring in some dollars that our governor won't spend. Anyway. So back to the Men in Black discussion.
Take the glasses off. Holy shit.
Yeah. It's just tough stuff, man. Gets real here. Gets real quick.
Yeah.
So to the details of the Men in Black and Point Pleasant specifically. So unknown persons were reported to frequent Point Pleasant, West Virginia. These unknown people being presumably Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. Just kidding. They're usually dressed from head to toe in black suits, white shirts, black ties, and black shoes, which all appeared to be perfect in appearance, but yet completely out of style for the time of 1966 and 67. You know, when you're saying this to me, I'm just assuming that these are just Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's a fair assessment.
That's not a terrible theory of this. Honestly, it's not.
That's not bad. It is weird though, because if you'd have told me, or if you'd have asked me, like, what's the attire in 66 and 67, I would have argued, like, this fit in.
I would, too.
That's what surprised me is, like, people are saying, like, I mean, obviously not everyday clothes, but weren't men back then, like, supposed to be, what's the word, like, dapper? Like, that's Mad Men and shit? Like,
well, I think, wasn't Mad Men more the 50s, though?
I don't know. I tried.
I don't know shit about Dick.
Well, actually, it was pretty good. I watched it.
It wasn't bad. I mean,
terrible misogyny, but
misogyny. What was that?
Misogyny. Holy shit.
Misogyny. Misogyny.
Thank you.
Yes, terrible misogyny, of course.
Look, the butterfly effect really has just gotten to me.
Well, I'll tell you what else will get to you is their type of cars that the Men in Black drove.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, personally, I would be. Never mind. I'm not going to axe that. Write that down for where to cut. So, on to the witnesses of the Men in Black. Now, as we mentioned before, John, the Men in Black approached people who were witnesses of the Mothman, who came out publicly, said they saw this winged beast, you know, red eyes, that type of thing. Mothman witness Linda Scarberry, if you'll recall from our first episode, said in an interview, quote, "The Men in Black wore black suits, on brand, black hats, and sunglasses. They drove cars, Cadillacs, I think. They looked like human beings, but their skin was somewhat transparent." Now I would stop her right there and say, then they didn't look like human beings. But that's neither here nor there. You could see the veins in their hands very clearly. Their fingers were longer than a normal person's fingers as well. Daddy shook hands with them, and he said they were awkward in shaking hands. They seemed to not know what to do or how to shake hands. She continued by saying one of the cars would follow us around. There were 3 men in the car. Doesn't hold up to the movie.
I was literally about to say that.
That's right. The men in black went so far as to follow us through the drive-thru of a restaurant. We were afraid to turn around and just looked in the mirror at them. I'm assuming a Burger King.
We are killing this.
I mean, we need details. If it was a Burger King, case closed.
Case closed. Call it in. We're making a movie.
Dial it in.
Look, have you ever felt like you were being followed in a drive-thru?
In a drive-thru? Yes,
Yeah.
every time I'm in a
Because
drive-thru.
you literally are. Yeah, you literally have one way to go. That makes look, I get it, but I think I want to be a believer in her, but the story is just so odd. Like I find it more odd than just Mothman itself.
Well, I was gonna say, I was with her when she said the giant 7-foot winged beast flew out of the TNT plant with red eyes. But you lost me when you said you got followed to a Burger King.
For sure. Like
with men in suits.
100%. Also, if they followed you, they should know your order. So to be fair, we need to find out who they were, see if they know the order. Did they follow them? But look, it just doesn't add up.
Was it chicken fries?
If it was chicken fries in 66 and 67, that is innovation, and that's not Burger King.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And I mean, was the McRib around then? We don't know.
It was not.
That reminds me of
McRib's back.
No, well, and Iron Shake said fuck the McRib earlier today. That reminds me though of
are you talking about the Iron Sheik? Okay.
Yeah, Sheik, Shake, whatever. That also reminds me of Joyce Webb.
Why?
Do you remember when her husband, like, she was like, it was their anniversary, and she was like, "Do you know what day it is?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do. Today's the day the McRib comes back."
Yep. I think it was that day.
They're both shitty people.
I think it was that day we went to a restaurant, and the lady said, "What will you be ordering?" And he said, "For you to sit on my lap." That was, yeah.
And I think that his wife liked that. I don't know.
They're in China now.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, they probably spread the coronavirus here.
I would agree.
I bet you Joyce Webb pounds pangolin. She fucking eats that shit whole.
She's all day.
Anyway. The two things real quick that I remember from that trip, like very distinctly, two quotes. One was she got really, really pissed off at Bayou Bessie because she had asked Joyce Webb how much she paid for her house.
Yeah, I remember that. You don't ask somebody that.
She's like, you don't fucking ask them. Like, and then we had made a joke. I don't even remember the context about Jimmy wiping his ass with a chicken sandwich or something.
Oh, yeah.
And her husband thought that was the funniest fucking thing. He was like, wipe his ass with a chicken sandwich. That's hilarious.
That's funny as fuck.
Yeah,
look, people can ask me what I paid for my house. $140,300. Right? Yeah.
That's not a number.
$140,300.
Okay, I see what you're saying now, but it was like you had like a hard pause. It was like 140, 300, like you're drawing Powerball numbers.
Maybe I was. You might want to write that shit down.
Well, 300 is not one of them.
Well, not to you.
Or anyone.
Okay. Anyway,
I didn't pay anything for my house because I don't own one. Live in DC and it's expensive. Anyway, okay. Well, so we were on the drive-through Burger King. So this is that's the basic understanding of the Men in Black. They did this to several people that said they saw Mothman. There's a couple. I wouldn't say maybe there's more than a couple of reports. But the interesting part, the interesting part is that John Keel, as we mentioned, the guy that wrote the Mothman Prophecy, John Keel. He was on this shit. Like, he heard about it. He's like, I'm on it. He chased these. He actually chased them. He claims to have tried to chase the Men in Black, like when he saw them, because he said he was being followed too. And I thought this was interesting because he had some weird shit that he said about this. He said that he would chase and try to confront them, and he even got the cops involved. And I feel like, I don't know what the police force was like in Point Pleasant, West Virginia back in the 60s, but I would just have to assume that if a guy from New York City came in and said, hey, I need you guys to like tail these aliens that drive Cadillacs, I don't know that they'd take him seriously. So I have to assume that Keel had these guys in the goddamn bag. Like he had to be paying them or something to do this.
Which would have been really cool for a book. If he could have just talked about the times that he
wrote it in a book.
He did?
The Mothman Prophecies.
Oh, I didn't know he wrote about the having the cops in his back pocket.
I don't know that specifically is, but I would assume that it was part of his book.
Well, I'm just saying, if you were to tell me that this book is a mixture of Mothman and mobs, because he's able to buy off the cops, I love it.
Mob man.
Oh yeah,
Moth mob. Look, mob man.
I've always had a mob man mentality. Okay, that's how I am.
Look, I watch The Sopranos. I get it.
Great show. I've seen one episode.
I haven't. I've seen half of an episode because I'm not good at paying attention to things.
Same.
That's why we've gotten distracted on this show so many times already today.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I have to have an outline. That's okay though. So the funny part about this, though, from John Keel, last thing on the Men in Black, is that he claimed, though, that they switched from Cadillacs to Volkswagens. To which I have a theory.
Okay.
My theory is that he wasn't getting much traction with this whole story. People are like, John, listen, you paid us well, but I'm starting to smell some bullshit here. And he said, wait. No, Volkswagens, they drive Volkswagens because Volkswagens are German. Mm-hmm. And this was approximately 20 to 25 years after World War II. And I think there's probably still some animosity from all that with the Germans. And he knew how to get people's goats up with that. That's my theory. All right. Because I don't know why you'd go from a Cadillac to a Volkswagen. I don't know. They're both fine cars. I'm not complaining, but it just seems weird.
I think that theory could check out. It really could. I never thought about that.
I'm hitting you with all the stuff today.
I'm assuming that the Men in Black is an international organization. I don't think it's here or there. I think it's everywhere.
No, and I think it's not gendered like that. I think it's the
people,
or maybe they're not people.
Yeah, maybe it's other things in black. I don't know.
Butterfly effect. Who knows? We won't find the answer to that today, unfortunately, unless the Burger King theory pans out, of which case TBD. We'll find out. But John, I know we talked a little bit about how we wanted to talk a little bit about the Mothman in present day, because there have been more sightings. And there's one I wanted to highlight from Mason County. Is Mason County where Point Pleasant is? No,
Point Pleasant is in oh crap.
Is it in Pleasance County?
No, I don't think so. That's St. Mary's.
Oh, it is okay, that is Point Pleasant. I just looked it up. I didn't realize it was Mason County. I don't know why.
I did know that. The only reason is because I knew somebody who ran there.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Well, this is in Mason County. I'm assuming it's Point Pleasant. So this was in 2016, John. So this was not that long ago, 4 years ago. Hunters claimed they took pictures of something that jumped from a tree. Now, that could be a lot of things. So I just want you to just stay in your seat here and hang on. We're going to land this plane together. They declined an on-camera interview. First red flag. But, well, let me dial that back. Maybe they didn't want the Men in Black coming after them.
That's fair.
Okay. All right. I scratched that from the record. I am not going to talk shit on that point. They were adamant, though, that the pics had not been doctored. And the guy that they interviewed, now this is where the story, John, I think falls apart. He said he recently moved to Point Pleasant for work and didn't even know about the Mothman legend. Absolute fucking lie. All right.
Yeah,
Number one,
no way.
Literally the only thing people know about Point Pleasant, if you know anything, is about Mothman. And even if you don't, if you drive down the street You see the statue.
Yeah. Everything is either named after Mothman. They have in the middle of their downtown a giant statue of
Yeah, that's what I said.
Mothman.
You
Like,
drive. You can't. It's
you
not a
can't-
big town. Like it's hard to miss.
Yeah, there's no way. That's complete. That's a complete lie.
I'm calling kangaroo court on that, like 100%. It's bullshit. Anyway, what they did say, though, is in the pictures, the creature appeared to have wings with pointed tip and long legs bent at an awkward angle. Again, sounds like a bird. Point Pleasant locals, though, such as Caroline Harris, believe the pictures could have been real and that there have been so many other sightings over the years. Now, again, you're always going to have, believers. She said, I quote, I definitely know the Mothman is real. And we're not saying that he's not based on this particular story. We're just saying that there's a lot of holes. This is like a piece of Swiss cheese. There's so many holes.
I'm not sure. This has always been my theory on these
This
types
particular
of
story.
things. On Mothman and on like things like Bigfoot, right? I think the only people who come out and say they've seen them are the ones who are trying to get rich off of it. I think people who have actually seen things don't run to the press. I think that they most of the time keep it to themselves because one, if they really know the story, they don't want Mothman. They don't want to piss off Mothman for one.
Hell no. I don't want to piss off Mothman.
And they don't want to piss off Men in Black now. So I don't think they go talk about it. I think this guy, first off, if you don't know what's in the trees and you claim to be a hunter, I hate to see how many shots it takes for you to kill a deer. You're probably not a very good hunter.
Yeah, he probably thinks every deer that he shoots is Bigfoot.
That's true. He's like, here, there it is, boys.
There it is again. See him? He's got that little tail there with the white on it.
Right there, that's him. Anyway,
some bitch.
Some bitch right there. Been finding Jack Sleep bird.
I got it. I got him. That Bigfoot's deader than hell out there in the woods because I killed him. 30-6 on bitch.
I've been putting Jack Sleep's beef jerky all over the field. I can't do it. So fucked up. Anyway, look, Mothman and Bigfoot, I think that both the same people who actually have seen them or truly believe they've seen them don't go to the press. I think it's people who are trying to get rich or get notoriety or whatever that run to the press.
I think you're right. Here's what you need to wait for. I want to see the deathbed confession where someone has been holding it in their whole life and they bring their family around them. They're taking their dying breath and they tell you, fucking seen Mothman. And then it's real because then they're like ghosted out of there. And then it's also like hell of a storyteller always leaves the audience begging for more. And so then you're like, well, damn, that's the real mystery. All I'm saying is I think you're right.
I think I'm right too. Look, have you ever seen Trailer Park Boys?
No, not really.
Well, hilarious show. Anyway, they have an episode where they go and hunt what they don't say Bigfoot, but they say something else. But they go hunt him, and it turns out it's just some random guy who used to live at the park who has to be homeless now and essentially looks like Bigfoot because of how dirty he is.
Yeah, that's sad.
Maybe that's what's going on here. Well, don't be sad. He wasn't a very nice guy.
Anyway, well, I mean, with Mothman though, it's like back in that day, people could have just been hammered and just saw like someone in a ghillie suit, which would have been equally as terrifying, or they could have just seen a bird and been blitzed out of their mind on mushrooms, which, as we know from our previous episode, you can get in large quantities in Pennsylvania.
Right, illegally.
Yeah, illegally for now. Anyway, so that's the Mason County sighting. One thing though that I wanted to dig into, John, just a little bit here was a lot of the more recent sightings have actually been seen not in West Virginia or not even in Appalachia, so to speak, in the Midwest, the city of Chicago, third largest city in the country, the Windy City. Reports started surfacing back in 2011, peaking in 2017. But have been as recent as October 2020. So, John, I wanted to point out that one of the first ones was from October 2011 from the southwest suburbs of Chicago, according to phantomsandmonsters.com. So, a very credible source. And I'm not going to do that one because I don't feel like reading all of that.
That's fair.
I will say, so let me back up and say there was one, and it was kind of like way too detailed. I didn't want to go into it. It was from the southwest suburbs of Chicago. But that does remind me of the time that I was in Chicago with my friend and his uncle drove us by John Wayne Gacy's house. That's all.
Okay.
True story. Not going to put it in. No, so there was one I wanted to point out. It was August 2017. It was reported by a woman named Erin Drain, which does sound like a fake name. I will just state that for the record. Apologies to Erin Drain. If you are a real person, then I believe you 100%. But there was the video. And John, I don't know if you watched this. I sent the link in our outline, but the video is weird. It's about 10 seconds long. There's this weird, like, dark thing in the sky. It's daytime. You can clearly see it, and it's just sort of hanging, like, suspended in air. Again, the video is only 10 seconds long. I think, though, the most important part of the video, though, is you can hear a person in the background screaming, "This is the best wine tasting ever." We'll put a link to that video in the show notes just for the hell of it.
That's awesome.
But so the one thing I want to point out, though, there have been a lot of sightings in Chicago. Most recently, though, is in October 2020, if you can believe it. Another credible source, the Singular Fortean Society, a paranormal news publication which, John, quote, bridges the gap between skepticism and belief, which to me sounds like partially fake news, but we're going to go with it because this is what we have. Okay. They reported that a 15-year veteran of the United States Postal Service encountered a tall, red-eyed, winged creature after working at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Give me a second. Let me pull up the quote.
Oh, what was that person's name, Chuck?
I don't know.
Exactly. They didn't really say.
Well, because, again, they don't want the fucking Men in Black on their dicks.
But to be fair, that kind of okay, you know what? I believe this because it goes with my theory that if you see him, you really don't want to talk about him, or at least you don't want people to know you were talking.
No, we're developing the hell of a narrative for this. You're right. Okay, so this is what he said. Excuse me. He said, quote, this is the postal worker, quote, "I had just left work at the USPS sorting facility at O'Hare Airport at about 11 p.m. on Thursday, the 24th of September," this is very specific, "and was walking out to my car when I saw something standing at the far end of the parking lot where I usually park. At first, I thought it was a very tall person with a long coat. At second thought, I thought it was two short kids in a long trench coat standing on top of their shoulders." Just kidding. It's not true.
That would have been awesome.
I'm losing it. It's getting late. As I got closer, have you ever seen BoJack Horseman?
Yes, I have.
That kid that has like the broom arms.
I was looking down at the end of the parking lot, and I thought it could be Mothman, but it also could be Tommy Pickles and Chucky from Rugrats.
It could be Macaulay Culkin. Yeah. As I got closer to my car, I unlocked my car, which caused my headlights to come on. My headlights hit the person standing, now he says person standing 20 to 25 feet from my car, causing it to turn and look right at me. I saw that this was not the same person, not some person, excuse me. I saw that this was not some person, but some red-eyed creature. And what appeared to be a coat were actually wings. Wings which spread out as it turned to look at me. At first, I thought it was some kind of very, very large bird. But I've never seen any bird that stood almost 7 feet tall. And I work at an airport. There's lots of birds. I'm 5'4", and this thing looked taller than me by at least 2 feet, which would make him 7'4". This thing then started making some type of chirping sound, almost a half chirp and half click. So pause. I don't know what the hell that is. Is that like a Like,
Yeah,
what
I
the
think
hell is
so.
a chirp click? That's a new one. Half chirp, half click, like someone was clicking their tongue, but much faster. Then it made some type of screeching sound and took off running toward me. It got to within 10 feet of me and took off in the air and flew above me. I was screaming hysterically as I crouched down behind car's open door. This is a terrible quote. And I dived into my car head first. I guess he opened the door. I was in a near panic as I tried to start the car, close the door, turn on the interior lights. This is entirely too much detail. I started my car and took off and drove down the road till I hit the main road. I got home and told my husband, who also works in the same facility, and he was the one who told me about sightings of this same thing. I was scared shitless, and I hope to never see it again. This thing is roaming around the area, scaring people half to death. I hope the airport people decide to do something about this thing someday. Well, that was an elongated quote, but I think the point of it was that they think they saw Mothman. Now, I have some issues with this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it could be true, but here's my theory, John. This is October 2020. Postal workers are working way too goddamn much because they're short-staffed, they're underfunded. This is clearly, I think, a sign of postal fatigue, and we need to fund the goddamn post office. And you know, maybe if it was Mothman, maybe that was Mothman's message in all of this. Maybe he is a warrior for the working class and a proponent of a strong federally funded postal service.
That's fair. I also have a fact to dispute this story.
Okay, all right, lay it on me. That's fine. We deal in facts here in the show.
So obviously, this person was saying that Mothman was making clicks and like a screechy noise, almost as if it was a bird, right? But here's the thing: Mothman. What comes first?
Yes.
Moth. Do you know how moths communicate?
Well, no. I don't even have a joke for that. No.
They don't make noises unless they're extremely close to another moth. No chirping, no clicking. They only
Are you saying this postal worker is a moth?
No, I'm saying that this postal worker is a liar.
Okay, speak your piece. What's your point?
The point here is if they can't even tell us what the thing sounds like when it's supposed to be at one time no more than 10 feet away from it, this to me means even less credibility to the story, because I get it. There are a lot of people who are like, oh, I saw this, or, I think it was over here. But if you tell me that you hear Mothman, I want to know the truth. And to me, if you're not even telling me how moths actually sound, and I'm supposed to believe that, I'm skeptical. And the Google machine told me that moths only whisper to each other.
Google, as the internet doesn't lie, and I learned that from Facebook. So, I hate to admit it, but it does sound like it checks out. It does. Well, I mean, again, postal fatigue. It sounds like maybe they misheard it. I don't know.
I think that's fair.
I still would like to believe that Mothman is a proponent of a strong federal, a strong, well-funded federal postal service, but who knows? John,
wait, this was in October?
Yeah, this is October.
Sorting machines are getting ripped out of the postal service areas at that time. So this person obviously was super overworked. And two, if it is Mothman, how do they know that Mothman wasn't there just to help? Or to reassemble, because we don't know what Mothman's background is. Maybe
hell no. He might have a mechanical engineering degree.
He might be an engineer. Maybe he was gonna reassemble it until this person shined their lights in Mothman's eye, so he couldn't work anymore.
Damn near blinded him.
He's angry. He walks off the job. Damn near flies off the job, if I have to say so. I think
you can.
The big thing here is
pretty fucked up.
I think we can blame this person for the downfall of the United States Postal Service in Chicago.
That's a bold claim. I'm not willing to go that far.
I don't know.
I will not denigrate a fine
that's fair.
postal service worker. However, I will say butterfly effect. Again, with that, could have. I'm not going to blame them for it, but butterfly effect. That's all I got to say. Anyway, John, you covered a little bit of Mothman in the media. Why don't we get into that a little bit here in the latter?
First, I want to talk about your favorite game, which we know that you're a big fan of this game.
Duck Duck Goose was a champion back in the day. Yes, thank you.
Okay, a little insider information if you haven't listened to the show, or maybe I don't even know if we revealed it, but one time when we were first looking into episodes, Chuck and I talked about doing an episode on this video game.
Yep.
And so I figured it's only fitting to put it in this. Mothman, they should have called it Mothman. In Fallout 76, Mothman is seen as this very vengeful creature. But there's six different types of Mothman at that time, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and just real quick to give some background, Fallout 76 is part of the Fallout game series, which is this post-apocalyptic sandbox game, takes place after nuclear war. Fallout 76 in particular was significant to the state of West Virginia because the world that you play in is modeled after West Virginia, like the Greenbrier Hotel and Resort is there, Camden Park is part of it. They incorporate West Virginia folklore and cryptids into the game, which is really interesting. I have some qualms with them making it an online game. I won't go into that, and I think it partially is the reason why it flopped so hard. But that being said, it was a really cool game to play because you were playing in a post-apocalyptic West Virginia, essentially. Continue.
It was just, and the game, so the way the game opens up is Jim Justice is sitting on about $800 million. Okay, that's
I'll tell you, anyway. Go to Bob Evans if you want to beat the game, Bob Evans. The Bob Evans monster's gone. No, sorry.
I still haven't spent the money.
I was going to spend all $800 million at Bob Evans for a bailout.
Just fucking him rolling around in 20s. Anyway, that's the whole game.
I'm just picturing that scene from Breaking Bad with Walter White on the pile of money, but it's just Jim Justice.
That's probably what it is. Anyway, there are 6 types of Mothman in this. There's wise, stalking, and vengeful, and then the most seen are glowing, scorched, and regular Mothman, being a tad bit more rare. Now, the difference here is the color of their eyes, Chuck. So this is the first time we're seeing a difference in eyes, because a lot of the times we hear about the red eyes, right? That's for Mothman. But Fallout 76 has a different idea. Believe it or not, they think the Mothman's eyes changes based off of how dangerous they are. Pretty interesting stuff. The wise Mothman has purple eyes and is not violent. Stalking Mothman has yellow, and like the name says, he's pretty much a stalker. And the vengeful Mothman has red eyes, and he will attack you just for being in his presence. So,
kill you dead.
So here's my thing. They made the red-eyed one the most aggressive, but we haven't seen a lot of aggression from Mothman recently.
No, we've seen a lot of running scared. We've seen a lot of hanging out in the sky. We've seen a little bit of aggressive-ish flying, but nothing like too predatory.
So, look, to me, that's evidence that either the game's wrong or these people are seeing different colors. Because to me, that Mothman who was in Chicago on in October 2020, I don't think he had red eyes, because he would have attacked that postal worker.
Yeah, well, that is a fair point. And I think the other question is, are the people that we're dealing with colorblind?
What if only colorblind people can see Mothman? Mothman's not really black. It's just that's what they're seeing, and they only see the red eyes.
Butterfly effect,
Butterfly effect, that 70s show, Ashton
Kutcher and Mila Kunis. That's
and
right.
Burger King. Literally all three. Literally all 3 of them. This makes sense. Okay. Anyway.
All roads lead back to Burger King.
That's true. Switch for me, yes. Switching topics just a little bit, still on Mothman, obviously. There's a guy out there, and I'm thrown off by his name. His name is Seth Breedlove. That's, to me, a kind of a weird name, but anyway,
I like it. Breedlove, bring it in. More love, the better.
And I think that's why he loves Mothman. He, in my opinion, may be a little obsessed with Mothman, but at least obsessed making movies about Mothman, because he's only made 2 movies and he's made them both on Mothman. The first one is called the Mothman of Point Pleasant.
Okay.
And the second one is called the Mothman Legacy. And that's the one that's important. It just came out last month. And
shit.
Yeah.
This is topical.
This just dropped.
Nailed it. All right.
Anyway, so Breedlove has this theory that some people don't see. He believes that Mothman is a 3-part act. So it all climaxes with the 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant. That's where he believes that the big part of the story takes place. His new movie, which is available now on Amazon, it has mixed reviews. I'm not gonna lie, right? It at sometimes makes Hillbilly Elegy look good on Rotten Tomatoes, and at other times makes it look like it really is. But there's one thing that's for certain when it comes to this movie. West Virginia has a shit ton of believers. So they asked him, did he have any trouble finding people to talk about Mothman? He said it was so easy that they had to cut people from the film, because they could have done an immediate sequel after they released the last film just from the people who said they've seen something in the past 15 years. This is incredible.
Shit.
There's so much footage.
The Men in Black, where are they for all this? Because my God, they're sleeping on the job.
Well, and that's what makes me think that either the Men in Black have maybe gone away. Maybe they don't take Mothman as serious right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Maybe they're waiting. I mean, look, like Breedlove says, the Silver Bridge collapse obviously is a monumental part of that region, but maybe that really is the climax of the Mothman, because
it could be.
We really haven't had that kind of strange event happen since, and maybe the Men in Black now have other things to focus on, like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness monster, Rudy Giuliani. There's so many different, anomalies out there that you just don't know what's going to pop up. The Men in Black have to be everywhere, but also nowhere. It's a tough job.
That's a fair point. It's a really fair point. And I think it makes sense. I need to watch this movie because it sounds really important, number one. Number two, he says 3 acts. That's kind of makes me think of a play. And so I think of Hamilton. I think that we should write a musical on Mothman.
Call Lynn.
How does a bird like red-eyed 7 feet tall?
Call Lin-Manuel Miranda, who, if you don't know, went to high school with Steve Hofstetter. If you haven't listened to that episode, make sure you do.
Yep, there it is. Plug. Oh, right. Should we wrap this up? We've been going for an hour and 10 on this. Okay, well, so that was a look into the world of Mothman. Aside from just the basic story, we got past the crust of the pie and into the fruity center of Mothman universe. I think the conclusions we took away are butterfly effect, and all roads lead back to Burger King, and you're not being followed. You're just first in line for the order.
You're just placing your order.
Just placing the order. Chicken fries all day.
Ma'am, this is a Wendy's?
Shit. Well, no Mothman today then.
It's just her screaming, Mothman, into the speaker.
Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. You're looking for the Burger King across the road next to the traffic circle.
Sorry. Yeah, it's over there on 7th. Anyway, yeah, it's been fun. We're going to have more of these, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. We might even do more this month. Who knows? Who knows? Well, hopefully you enjoyed that. And if you didn't, leave us a comment on YouTube, because apparently that's where all the shit comments go.
Literally, during this episode, we got more shit comments. My favorite comment right now, which I think may replace... Yes.
On YouTube?
One of them. Yes. And this is now one of my favorites. I wholeheartedly disagree with what you're saying. And even though I haven't read the book.
I love it.
That's my favorite.
I love it.
You don't. And then the person says, I'm not from the region, but I lived in a rural town. So you haven't read the book. You're not from the, anyway.
I want to say, look, I haven't read your comment, but you're full of shit.
Look, I haven't read the comment. I haven't read your comment. I know nothing about you, but I think you're a complete and total dumbass.
I think that's the message right there. Anyway, well, look, we got to move on. We're on to the last segment of the show. As always, we've talked a lot about some meat in this with McRibs, with chicken fries, but the true beef is the only beef that matters. It's the beef with Big John.
Look, I always told people, Chuck, that you and I, we don't care if people are Republican or Democrat when it comes to talking about them, right? When it comes to telling it out as it is. Today, for the first time ever, record-breaking, I've got beef with Senator Joe Manchin.
Joseph Manchin III lives on a boat in the Potomac River when he's in the District of Columbia. What doth beef could it be this week with the only Democrat that exists in the state of West Virginia?
Well, first off,
JK, there's other ones. I'm kidding.
Congrats to him for actually being able to win. But anyway, he's doing, in my opinion, a terrible job right now, especially when it comes to the coronavirus pandemic. Joe Manchin has always been seen as this independent figure, right? He wants to work with everybody. But currently, in my opinion, he's being railroaded by Mitch McConnell to push a bill that they call bipartisan. And bipartisan, they mean Joe Manchin is a Democrat and he supports it, so therefore it's bipartisan. And the framework of this bill is essentially there's about $280 billion in aid for business, $300 for weekly supplemental unemployment, and $160 billion for state and local governments, right? Here's the problem with that, Chuck. What did I not mention? There are no relief checks for American citizens.
No stimulus checks.
Joe Manchin has been front and center of this bill. That's why I've got beef with him, saying that we need to push this bill through. But Joe Manchin comes from one of the states that's struggling the most with the coronavirus when it comes to a breakdown of the finances. And we've never been really good at the economic portion of things anyway. So putting $1,200 into people's pockets, even on a good day, still makes a world of a difference in West Virginia, in Appalachia, and probably in the rest of the country. Joe Manchin this is the first time I think I'm going to argue this, but Joe Manchin currently has forgot where he came from. And I think he's forgetting about the people of West Virginia currently, because he should know that the $1,200 checks would make a vast difference to people in West Virginia. And the people
should be more than $1,200 in my opinion.
First off, I wholeheartedly agree.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Second, I'm just saying 1,200 because that's the one, that's what it was last time. Yeah. But to me, Joe Manchin should be the Democrat who's stepping up and saying, look, I agree with President-elect Biden saying that, we need to put these stimulus checks into the bill. Now, I know people are going to argue too that Nancy Pelosi is part of the reason that this bill has been so terrible, which, right or wrong, I don't care. Joe Manchin has been front and center when it comes to the Senate and trying to push it forward. He's even now, you think I got beef. He's got beef with AOC. He's now going after people in his own party, which, whatever. But I don't know if that's who I'd mess with if I'm Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is a Democrat, but he's not a super well-liked Democrat right now. So I'm not really sure what his play is here. The only thing I can think of is he's trying to gain the respect of Republicans in the Senate, which he doesn't really have to try that hard because he votes for them 40% of the time. So Joe Manchin, to me, is out of place on this one. He continues to push it forward. I know other Democrats have endorsed the package, and the package is a little bit over $1 trillion, but a lot of people are arguing that the package should be somewhere between $3 and $4 trillion. Look, we can spend a bunch of money on all of these other sectors. We can give out, loans for the coronavirus relief to millionaires and billionaires like Jim Justice, but we can't help normal everyday people that keep the world moving. And we can't even, it's like I made this analogy once before. Mitch McConnell, let's pretend like you work with him. You hand him a sandwich 10 days in a row, Chuck, and on the 11th day, you ask him for a sandwich back. So you've given him 10 sandwiches. He won't even give you one. It's like little people who continue to push taxes into the government. And when they finally give you a single dollar, they say, well, you're welcome. When in actuality, it's your money. It's essentially J.G. Wentworth. It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Well, and I think that we've seen a perfect example of why stimulus checks are better, because we currently have a governor of West Virginia, and actually I think the governor of Alabama and probably some other states doing the same thing, where they're sitting on money that was given in a relief package and not do anything with it. Whereas for the average person, if you give them a check, they're going to spend it or they're going to do something with it. And I think that's the thing. And look, if you're giving Manchin the full benefit of the doubt, I understand like wanting to kind of be the leader on this of let's broker something, get something done, which because that needs to happen. And there's absolutely no doubt that needs to happen. But if you're going to do that, especially in a negotiation, because it's not going to be $1 trillion, and realistically, I think it's going to be less because Republicans are going to get them down on that. But if you're going to start with that, start from a negotiation point where you have stimulus checks already in the bill. I think that's the problem is like, and that's, it was something that was like hardly questioned before, like when this all started, and that was in April, I think. And now we're how many months is that? 6, 7, 8 months since then. And most Americans have received one check for $1,200 over the past 8 months. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are running out of unemployment. A lot of people are struggling to survive or on their RIP payments, might experience homelessness because of this. It just strikes me as absurd that our government can't seem to muster even an inkling of what's necessary. And I don't know, it's disappointing. Like, I think that any stimulus package passed is probably better than no stimulus package passed, but it still is. It's like, you take a shit sandwich or you take nothing. Like, there's no good choice, really. That's not to say that like there aren't. It's not to say that there are not certain things in Manchin's relief bill that are good. I'm sure there's plenty of good. I haven't really parsed through the whole thing, but the fact of the matter is, the thing that's going to make the single biggest difference in people's lives are stimulus checks to help them get through the day. And even that is not going to be adequate, but it's something, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And that's a shame, especially because the incoming administration, the Biden team, his economic team is overwhelmingly pro-stimulus.
Well, and there's two things to think of. First, I think, to me, I disagree with one of the things you said. And the one thing that it is the fact that I don't think any stimulus package is better than no stimulus package. The only reason being is because I think that this stimulus package will be the last stimulus package. So I know that there's belief that there's going to be a third. I don't think that we make it to a third. We have had so many problems getting to a second stimulus package that, to me, it's stimulus checks now or never. I don't think it happens again.
Yeah, I've heard that argument, and I get that. I think my point was speaking in the absolute.
Right, and that's fine. The other thing to remember here, too, is that this is a $908 billion investment right now. Chuck, do you know how much it costs for a round of stimulus checks?
No, tell me.
$300 billion, which is nothing to the United States government.
Dropping the damn bucket.
Right.
So really only $300 billion?
Yeah. This week, another round of stimulus checks expected to cost around $300 billion. And so Dick Durbin, who's a Democrat out of Illinois, he justified the package by saying that they removed stimulus checks because they wanted to, quote, make it more palatable to Senate Republicans. I'm so sick of rich people saying that they have to be there has to be this palatable measure when it comes to helping people who live everyday lives. I'm so sick of it. These aren't your fucking taste buds. These are people's lives. It doesn't need to be palatable. You need to suck it up. You need to pass the bill. You need to do your job, because we're at a point now where, unfortunately, we keep electing these people. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say to try and convince people to stop electing people like Mitch McConnell, but we're at a point, people are literally dying, not only because of COVID directly, but indirectly as well.
Yeah,
we have to fix this problem. Senator Dick Durbin, I'm emphasizing, is wrong.
It's a phallic joke for those listening.
Is wrong with this justification. the Democrats need to step up, grow a backbone, do the right thing, and then Republicans need to step up and vote it through.
Yep. And well, I don't know. I think we'll see. What it will sadly probably end up with is a watered down bill.
I would say you're right.
But which is pathetic that there hasn't been any help whatsoever from the federal government in 8 months. Yes. 8 long ass months of this, but there's been so much other bullshit happening. All right. Well, I won't go. And that's there's blame on both sides, more so on the Republicans, I think, but there's still some blame on the Democrat side. That's all I'll say.
Final thing I wanted to point out is no one's talking about it, but there is a potential for a government shutdown starting December 11th. So that's another thing that people seem to be forgetting.
Yep, and they'll probably kick the can for 2 weeks with a continuing resolution and find some way to split the bullshit baby.
They will do that because they always do a continuing resolution. But the big thing here is that they took a break. They went on vacation. So technically, they only have 5 days from, well, actually 4 days now to pass that continuing resolution.
Yeah, I think what they'll do is they'll pass something. It's not a continuing resolution, but it's a stopgap measure.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not get into that. That's all right. Anyway,
no, I'm just telling you.
I know. I'm falling into a hole here, and we're at almost an hour and a half.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, that was a meaty beef to end this episode with. Appreciate that, and appreciate all you listening. Check us out on our website, Appodlachia.com. Again, new email, info@Appodlachia.com. Remember, check the show notes for all the details, but most importantly, vote in the award show. Final nominees, vote for that, and then keep an eye out for the show that we do at the end of the month when we announce the winners. Thank you all, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Black smoke rolling, burning night and day. It don't matter to me at all. Santa can drive that sleigh. He's trying to bring me a brand new sled, and I sure don't know what for. 'Cause I ain't been sledding since the blizzard of '94. And it's a cold Kentucky Christmas.